Today, on Rise Up, Sacred Dialogues, Ailia Hallal and Dr. Irfan Alamgir discuss the teachings of the riser, Aba Al-Sadiq, about the true supporters of God and the unique roles they play in the unfolding divine plan. Next, Brother Faraz joins us for a special talk, sharing profound insights into who Aba Al-Sadiq is and the transformative wisdom he has gained from him. We are then joined by Caroline Hoeren, the deputy head of our security and legal department and editor of Divine Just State magazine. She sheds light on the brutal persecution of our members and the lack of religious freedom in Azerbaijan. Pushing boundaries. Who are the companions of God's messenger, and why is their role so unique? We explore the answers that challenge conventional understanding. And finally, medicine of the Mahdis. Dr. Irfan Alamgir uncovers divine revelations in the field of medicine, offering a revolutionary perspective on healing and health. This is Rise Up.
Companions of the Qa'im have a unique privilege in that they become the foundation upon which the divine just state is built. The Prophet Muhammad and the Imams from the Ahl Bayt said the companions of the Mahdi or the riser are better than the 313 warriors in the Battle of Badr, who were of course instrumental in establishing the Islamic State, and of course even better than the 72 martyrs on the fields of Karbala, which is quite an astonishing thought.
That is incredible. That really is. And it actually shows us then the significance of their role. Because when you see that they're being given that rank that is so great, there has to be a reason for it. There is a mission at hand. There is a goal that they have, which is aligning with the divine goal. And that's why they have that privilege, because the person that they are coming to support is the Qa'im of the family of Muhammad.
Exactly.
And I want to add something very quick about the Qa'im of the family of Muhammad, something that is a very beautiful aspect of this eschatological figure. The fact that it was once said by the sixth Imam Jafar Sadiq, from him his peace, what a great person, what a godly figure. This incredible guide to mankind once said that he said in his time that I would be so privileged if I could ever serve the Qa'im of the family of Muhammad. And that is being said by the sixth Imam from the lineage of Prophet Muhammad. Now imagine the place and position of the Qa'im, and to be a companion of his is something that the Imams themselves were hoping for and longing for. So let alone for those in this day and age who get to actually be with him and to serve him and be a part of his life.
Right, and these companions have this distinction. They are spoken about at length by the Imams of the Ahl Bayt. And it's something, the words that you uttered about Imam Al-Sadiq, the sixth Imam, mentioned in the will of the Prophet Muhammad, the will, of course, that we always go back to. And Imam Al-Sadiq said he would love to be among his companions, which is quite a statement. The prophets and the messengers have been spoken about as yearning to be with the Qa'im. And the Imams verified that some of them do indeed return. And in the narrations, there is mention of the return of Joshua or Yusha bin Nun as one of the companions of the Qa'im who helps him to build that divine just state. And there are many more examples. We of course know about Jesus the Messiah, who returns and prays behind the Mahdi, which is a signal that the Mahdi is the one to whom he is subservient even. So his rank is extremely high, and the honor to serve him is also likewise extremely great.
Exactly. And we're very excited also to in the future do episodes on the subject of reincarnation and the return of the companions from the past in this day and age. But at the moment, what we can say is absolutely, like you said, Jesus Christ does appear in this day and age, and he supports the Qaim, and so do the disciples of Jesus.
Right.
So do the ones who were
companions of the cave.
The companions of the cave do. We know in Islamic history, figures like Salman, like Miqdad, Abu Dhar, they actually return as well. So there's a lot of exciting names that we find in the narrations, in the scriptures, of people returning to support the Savior of mankind in this very critical day and age. And that's what we're seeing happening right now.
Yeah.
Yesterday we also went over the Basilica, which actually has in it those portraits of the companions. That was a very interesting little input from Karina's side.
Yes, and of course there are stages in which the closest of companions come to the service of the Mahdi in stages according to their rank and nearness to God. So we have these numbers in the narrations. We have first and foremost the 313 who are mentioned, which again is another similarity to the Prophet Muhammad, the 313 who participated in the Battle of Badr. And we have in other narrations 10,000, 12,000, 100,000. And these companions come later on. And the companions closest to the Qaim, the foremost, they have been honored by the Qaim in the Holy Basilica, which he built as a mark of his love and
as
affection.
A tribute.
Exactly. And you, Ali, have been somebody who's been there from day dot in Egypt before Aba Al-Sadiq recognized that he was the Abdullah mentioned in the will of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. And what an honor it must have been to know Aba Al-Sadiq from Egypt, to help him to build the member of Egypt, and now to still be with him all these years, over a decade later, supporting him and calling new people to the dawah and bringing new people in as the coordinator of the outreach team. It
is an honor, it is a privilege, and it is something that we take very seriously. We take our support of the Qaim very seriously, and of God, because we see him as that, as we've said before, the Holy Spirit in a man, like emulated in a man, and actually, and what would you call it, like encased within this man. It is the Savior, the messenger that God has sent for us now. So we take it very seriously, absolutely. And you as well, Irfan, you were the one of those people that actually immediately jumped to support him as soon as the Black Banners of the East were raised, and that was back in 2015. You and your entire family. So you actually came with your whole family, and you have been by his side from that point on.
Yes, of course, you know, to be attracted to the personality of Aba Al-Sadiq is a trait that we all share, and it's because of the sincerity of the man, the faith that he demonstrated before he claimed to be a Mahdi mentioned in the will of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. His works spoke for themselves. He disseminated his works for free. He opened his doors to people from all over the world, from east and west, and he housed them, and he provided for them, and he educated them. And his voice and his words were the loudest at a time where people are looking for guidance. And he really was that guide figure that we all gathered to, like the clouds of the sky gather, as the Imams from Ahlul Bayt have said in many narrations.
Exactly, and it's such a phenomenon because we see that in this day and age we were reading in the books that a time would come where the people from different nations and races and tribes would rush to a single place, to a place where they would find the Qaim, the riser. And it really did happen exactly like that, where at a single time, so many people immediately had that urge and that desire to run and to rush and to urgently get to this place where that man was, and to support him and to say that we are here to help you raise the banner of allegiance is to God. Because the time we're living in now, it's a critical time. It's a time where there is no hope for salvation unless people understand once and for all that allegiance is to God alone. You cannot serve two masters, Jesus said.
SubhanAllah, exactly, Alia. And the critical time that we live in, this time is the time before the great deluge, the flood of Noah. It is beginning to rain, and those first raindrops are falling. And as the scriptures state, people are going about their lives completely heedless of the signs that have come from God already. And it is really the time now to find the Spirit of God in your time and support Him with everything that you have. The time is now, and we are the people calling you to the Qa'im of the family of Muhammad, because in supporting him lies your salvation and the salvation of your children and your children's children. So please gather around the Qa'im with all that you have and give victory to God in this day and age.
Now, in terms of the Qa'im and his teachings and the way that he is guiding the people in this day and age, he has produced now an incredible series of lectures that are available and accessible to everyone out there on our YouTube channel called The Mahdi Has Appeared. What we like to do is we like to take from those lectures the jewels of what he is speaking, and we take them and we discuss them. Every few sentences that he says, every couple of sentences that he says are so deep and profound that books could be written on them. And there's so much to expand from the words and from the teachings of this great and holy figure. So let's go ahead and go back to a conversation that you and I were having, yes, concerning certain extracts that we have from the lecture series, The School of Divine Mysteries, where Aba Al-Sadiq, from him is peace, was speaking about the companions of the riser.
And in 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, people began to join me from all over the world. People that were my friends from many years before. They flew out to Egypt once they heard that there was, which is where I was at the time, and they flew out there to join me because we felt like, you know, that it could happen now at any moment. The rise of the Mahdi, the rise of the Ahmadi, and we wanted to be a part of that or make ourselves available for that. And so I had people that came that I knew from before. New people came from all different countries. I had people come from the UK, I had people come from Germany, I had people from Egypt, I had people from Tunisia, I had people from South America, I had people from almost every nation on the planet that came out to Egypt, and we established this community out there. It just kind of grew, you know, spontaneously. And then after I met Ahmed Hassan, and he let me know who I was, and I was forced to reveal myself to the people, my companions that were out there. Most of them pledged allegiance to me. A group of them disbelieved and went away, and the majority remained with me. And then we were given the task to move now from Egypt, and I left with that community, and I came to Europe, where we been traveling and moving around for all of the past years, propagating and spreading the dawah, and also at the same time our community becoming larger and larger. You see, I had the task of bringing forward Imam al-Mahdi's companions to him. Anybody who would hear my voice and would accept it and would pledge allegiance to Imam al-Mahdi through me were people that I was bringing towards to the Imam. These are from his 313, these are from his 10,000, those who remain firm on the path, and certainly people, they come and they go. And so we traveled through Germany. Many people joined us there, and then we moved towards Sweden, and our community grew even larger, and many people joined us there from all over the world. And finally, we were commanded by Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam to move towards the United Kingdom, whereby we have now a very large base and an officially registered organization and religion and movement, and we have hundreds of people that surround me now at all time, and that are part of this faith, and that have dedicated their lives towards calling people to Imam al-Mahdi.
Wow, Ailia, you know, hearing Aba Al-Sadiq's words, you can sense the weight of responsibility that has been put on his shoulders.
Yes.
A sincere believer in Egypt, building the platform of Egypt, unknowingly, I guess, at the time, and people are arriving at his doorstep. He opens the doors to these people. From 2011,
Yes.
when the first people arrived, and I think you were among them. And I would love to hear that initial interaction that you had with Aba Al-Sadiq, but it ends with him having the responsibility to build the divine just state, to gather the 313 prophesied companions who help him, who are his disciples. And then he's basically told to go on and call forth the people.
Yes.
What a commandment and what a mission. And it starts in 2011.
Yeah, it started all that time back, and it was his dedication, wasn't it? It was the fact that he was so sincere to God that he put everything on the line for God, including his own reputation, his safety, his family. And this is, by the way, before having an official appointment by an imam. He was just, in his world, a humble believer trying to serve God, opening his door to everyone, saying to them, come, let's call the people to Imam Mahdi. And that became the sole focus of those who joined him at that point. And look how it's grown. I mean, listen to the list of countries that he's mentioned: Tunisia, Egypt, Algeria, Pakistan, UK, Germany, Sweden, every country you can think of. People have been flocking towards him through the years. And now we're in the United Kingdom. And like you said, the weight of the responsibility, the fact that he's collecting those prophesied companions who, by the words of Aba Al-Sadiq, are worthy of being with him. Why? Because they are doing what he did. They are trying to mimic that way of the man of God, which is leave everything for the cause of God to call people to Imam Mahdi. It's beautiful.
Yes, very much reminiscent of the man who wanted to join Jesus on his travels, and Jesus said, "Sell everything you have, give it to the poor, and follow me." Exactly. And this is what those initial disciples, the followers of Aba Al-Sadiq, were attracted to: his personality, his sincerity. It
was his sincerity, and we could see that, you know. And you yourself, when you came, it was in the Germany phase when the community were there, and you can testify to this just as much as I can. The fact that this was the fulfillment of prophecy. Day after day, we saw that God's words were coming true. So how could we deny it?
Yes. And I became aware of this statement that there would be a platform built in Egypt. And I watched all of your guys' productions, everything that you guys made, and it really did. It was the second wheel on the cog that started to turn in Europe, and my God, what a man! And we all subconsciously already knew that this man is someone special from the Arrivals days when he first reached global notoriety, and if he isn't the man for the job, then who is?
Then who is?
The Abdullah.
Then who is doing it like he is? No one is doing it like he is right now.
And the narrations of the Ahl Bayt describe the 313 companions of the Qa'im as being more obedient to him than a wife is to her husband, or a bondswoman, a slave woman is to her master. And so there's this relationship between these companions and the Qa'im, where they're married to the Qa'im, they're married to the faith, they're married to God, and they're willing to do anything for his sake. And there's traditions that speak about how they all night long they don't sleep, they stay up, and they're worshiping God and thinking about God, and they sound like bees, and during the day they're like lions that are out doing their different works. Their hearts, according to the narrations, are like iron. Each and every one of them has the strength of 40 men. And this is not talking about physical strength. It's talking about, spiritual strength, the faith of 40 true believers.
Father, I have been with you and with the people who are around you for 12 years. And I can testify that you and the people around you are the best people that I have ever met in my entire life. And I don't think I will ever find anyone better than you and your people. And all praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And thank you for everything, Father.
And I testify that you were one of the first people to respond to the call. And you came out and you believed in me without me even, and before I even knew my own self. So in that way, you and those first group of people that came out, or like Khadija, who believed in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam before he believed in his own self. And you guys were with me all of these years. From the time that we were just a handful, a group of youth that believed in God, like the companions of the cave, and our community has now grown to where there are hundreds of men, women, and children that live together and are part of this great faith and are working to spread justice and equality to the nations. And there are thousands upon thousands of believers worldwide from amongst the nations that have heard this call and have pledged allegiance to it and believed in the supremacy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and await the relief that God gives to the earth. So God bless you and peace be upon you and peace be upon your companions and mine on the day that they were born and the day that they die and the day that they will be resurrected, inshallah. God bless you and thank you for everything that you guys have done and for your service towards God and His Messenger.
I think it's so beautiful that in what we just watched, we get to witness an interaction between the Qaim and one of the companions that have been with him from 2011, from that time period in Egypt, where, again, it has to be reiterated here, it was a time where people were going out to him and they were not going to a life of luxury, they were not going to a beautiful place, they were going to a land that was very humble in its bearings, a lifestyle that was very, it was a very basic lifestyle and it didn't matter. And Hamid Riza, in this episode that we just watched, he's actually someone who came from the United Kingdom. He had a very good life going for him, but he didn't want it. He wanted God. And when he found Aba Al-Sadiq wanting the same thing, he left everything and went towards him. And that's the quality that Aba Al-Sadiq talks about in this part of the episode, where he says that that's what makes a companion of the Imam different. Yes. Is that they are, and he uses the word married to the faith, married to the religion. Marriage means what? It means you dedicate yourself to something. Complete fidelity. Complete fidelity, complete loyalty, complete trust. So everything that you would need in a relationship of marriage, basically regarding that love and that dedication, you have to have that for God. You have to have that for religion. And it's not, basically, you cannot have both. You cannot be saying to yourself, well, I have God, but I also want my own life. That's the difference. A true companion says, no, I give myself to you entirely, towards God or towards the religion. And Hamid is as an example of one of those people who did that.
Exactly. And we see parallels in Jesus, who described himself as the bridegroom.
Exactly.
To his community. So Aba Al-Sadiq shares all these qualities with previous prophets and messengers. And the other thing that is really that strikes me is that reference to these believers like Hamid Riza, like yourself, who were from that first phase of people to immigrate and make that first migration to the Holy Land of Egypt, is this reference to the bees, referring to the believers as the bees. And of course, Imam Ali alayhi salam was called the Prince of the Bees.
Beautiful.
And when you study the bees in nature, what are they? They are completely subservient to their queen. And without her, the colony capitulates, collapses, and the bees go to the extent where they will sacrifice their lives in an instant if there is any threat to the queen.
Exactly.
And Aba Al-Sadiq, in this time, he is the Prince of the Bees.
He is.
And the believers are his flock, his protectors, and his friends and disciples.
His hive.
SubhanAllah.
So that was a very interesting conversation that I had with you, Irfan, concerning the companions of the Qaim and the way that the Qaim of the family of Muhammad Aba Al-Sadiq, from him his peace, depicts and portrays who these who these characters are that come to support him. Now, we're joined here in the studio with a very dear brother of ours, Brother Faraz Al-Mahdi. It's an honor to be here with you, brother. How are you?
I'm absolutely fantastic. Thank you for having me here. I'm over the moon.
It's an honor to have one of the close companions of the second Mahdi, Aba Al-Sadiq, in our midst, and we really look forward to hearing from you, Brother Faraz, about your story and how you came to know Aba Al-Sadiq and how you came to be one of his disciples.
Yes.
How can you describe, first of all, I'm so happy for being here, and how can you describe being with God's angels in even in a day, and I'm going to try my best in how much time I got here. I always believed in God, but my path to God took a long time to get to Him, to understand who He is. It came from my wife finding our dear beloved Father, from whom is peace. But I still didn't believe. But I believed that she should continue in her research. That makes her happy, so that's fine. As long as she's happy, that's fine by me. But I still didn't understand who He was. So I carried on with my day-to-day living while she's doing her research. But God will come to you in many dreams and many visions. And still I didn't understand who He was. And sometimes we go through the day that we forget that God Himself is watching before His angels are sent to us. But when I got to meet Him, His aura, His presence, His way that He looks at you, you wish that He was with you as a child growing up. Like everything will be perfect. How He speaks, from the way that He smiles, from the hugs that you give Him a hug and you just don't want to let go. Any problems, He tells you how to do it calmly in a way that you think, oh, wow. And then you get to understand, like, who I'm standing, like, who He is. And I'm standing in front of this person. And then I put my dreams together, like connecting the dots. And I realized that this man has been sent by God. Because why are you believing the stories that you read in the Bible and the Torah and the Quran for if you weren't there? You get to understand that God has been merciful on myself and us all to make us become part of Him so that we can become part of the future and save as many people as possible. And I'm so humble and I'm so grateful to this wise angel. And this angel is real. And I just want to say that this angel is real. This angel is divine. He's here for the sinners, for the poor, for the weak, for those who want to make a change in their life, for those who have been abused mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, for those who want change, for those who think I've had enough of the world. Why am I starving? Why am I hungry? Why am I not loved? Where is the person that can help me? And it goes on and on and on. And this person, this angel is... God is real.
Yes.
God is real. And this is not a fairy tale. For me, I sometimes have to pinch myself. I look at my wife, like even yesterday, like what a wonderful... He's more than a man. Religion is a man and He is this man. And He is trying to open up our hearts and our minds and wake us up like He woke me up, because where I was going was a dark place. Like, you know, if you're away from God, there's no other light there is. You have to find your feet. And we have to realize that you have to make a change within yourself to become a part of God's messenger or God Himself, or which way you want to think about it. But now we have to think about being with the Kahim of the family of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him and his holy household. This is real. And I didn't grow up knowing about certain religions. All I knew that God was there through my grandparents. In the Christian background, I knew that if I prayed to God, and sometimes I was used to blame God for the way I couldn't read at first and how come I can't write properly. But it's not, it's ourselves, that He's always there. If you give yourself to Him, He will surround you with protection. If you walk to Him, He will run to you. And I am so happy for living and breathing every day so I can make a change to other people through a smile, through a word, through a hug, through advice, through guidance that our dear beloved Father, Aba Al-Sadiq, from him is peace, has given me.
God bless your pure words for us.
Oh,
You joined Aba Al-Sadiq, from him his peace, many years ago. Faraz has been a part of our community for quite a while now. And you and your family, your children, your wife, all of you are staunch supporters of the Savior of mankind in this day and age. And every day we get to witness the beautiful phenomenon of people from various parts of the world coming towards this place, this location, this community, this man, and saying to themselves, I'm here to support God by supporting the man from God. And for us, you're witnessing that with us. You're seeing all these people coming and collecting around him.
You think to yourself, what is heaven like? Heaven is for every human being that wants to be with God in heaven. Well, I remember a priest said to me, when I asked him when I was 7, I said, where is heaven? No, in fact, it was, where is hell? And he said, around us. And I said, well, then where is heaven? He said, around us too. But you would understand that when you get older. And now I understand it. If we live how we're supposed to, we all know how. You get a pen and paper and say, how are you supposed to behave? And you write it down and you gave it. If you give it to your teacher or anybody or lecturer, you probably get a merit or distinction. Now it's go and live it.
Yes.
And I remember when I met Father, he told me something about myself that only I knew. And just to let me know, I know more about you than you know about yourself. I love you more than anybody, including your own mother. And I believe that and I understand that. And it's for everyone now to be brave enough to understand that you have to, when you find the truth, people are going to think that you're crazy. You know, people say, what are you talking about? You used to be this, you used to say this, you used to carry on this way. Well, I've changed myself. They don't want to see the change in you. There's a bit of jealousy that you're making a change for yourself or a bit of envy. You make a change where you have to go against the darkness inside yourself. And then you wonder, well, if I can fight this darkness to stop me, that's trying to stop me from going to him, then I have to maybe go against my friends who want to say, what are you doing? Or your family, or your community.
And detach from what you're familiar with.
Exactly. If the disciples can drop everything of Jesus, from him his peace, when he said, come with me, and they were fishing, and they dropped everything, got out their boats, walked into the water, and walked with him.
Wow.
They didn't get into a car, there wasn't any phones, they walked and they went to serve the messenger of God and all the prophet and messages before and after. So it's time for people to be brave enough to understand that this person is this is the only person that you should be listening to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's exactly like that.
Yeah, and there was a word that you used when you described people who follow the Mahdi. They are thought of as crazy or the lowly ones in society because they because they perceive this world that we live in as a place of darkness.
Exactly.
And if this place is in a place of darkness right now, with the tyrants that sit on the thrones and in leadership positions, and the scholars that misguide and contaminate the religion, you are, like you said, if anybody is hungry out there, you know, if anybody is struggling out there, then come to the Mahdi, the Savior, who is providing that pure spiritual nourishment. The food that he gives in terms of his knowledge is the food that the soul is starving, right?
He is erasing all the lies that we've been brought up with and open our hearts to the truth. He's telling you this is how you're supposed to be, live and talk, because the way before was wrong. And if everyone was, why are they still making adverts for the poor people to give money to the hungry when the rich, super rich, can just get rid of it just like that?
Exactly.
Why is there over 1 million children dying of drinking dirty water? Why is there over 1,000 children dying every day? Why is there 400,000 children dying every year? Why is there wars and diseases and ignorance and violence and poverty still going on? And why are the people of the churches, so-called churches, super rich? And still people are still trying to find and believe in these people when the person sent by God is right here. Only he can save you. And it's about time that people knew that.
God bless you for us. I am so happy and privileged. We feel very privileged that we get to sit with you and actually discuss these matters with you, because there are so many out there who will probably relate to that as well. Many of us can vouch for the fact that before we found Aba Al-Sadiq, before we found the Savior, we did feel lost. We were broken. We were weighed down by this world and confused by the brokenness of the system that we were in. And all of us have come from different backgrounds, yet none of us could really see the point in this materialistic world. And like you put it, the way that it's so unjust, so corrupted. And we knew that there has to be more to live for. There has to be more to go towards and to build together with someone that is a guide, someone that can tell us how to do so. And it was that sincerity and it was that belief in God that made God respond to us. If we hadn't had that belief, God may not have spoken. But God has been speaking for a long time for those out there who wish to hear Him. And you yourself relate to that sort of lifestyle or background where people are rejected and thwarted and just cast aside. But you heard a man calling towards you and opening his arms to you.
He opened my heart and my mind and my soul to Him. He saved me from walking into the darkness. If I wasn't with Him, then I'd just be a lonely person. I would not be surrounded by love of my family. And my family is His family. And so it's not my family. My family before, it's not. It's His family. We are His children. We are God's children. We must understand exactly who the divine caller is. Absolutely. And have that respect for, because how would you feel then if God came into your room? Are you going to start shouting at Him? Are you going to say, I don't believe you, or who are you? And ask Him 20,000 questions. Your heart is supposed to be open and sincerity.
Receptive.
Yes, and it's very important for that. And if I can make it into God's land and look at how I was, and I saw my wife fight for her family to understand there was no force. I could have been a husband and said, well, you do what you're doing, I don't care. But I looked and I said, you know what, look what's happening, and what she's doing hasn't caused me any harm. It's just the truth being told to me and my kids. And then through dreams you think, well, I saw this man. Who is this man? And when you see him, this light, it's just like, wow, my God, like
very well
you have to pinch. We don't have to go to the movies anymore because we live in the real film.
Faraz, let's ask you a quick last question, and that is, what advice would you give to the viewers out there who might be wondering, who is this great man and what is it that I should do next?
Open your heart and ask God for the truth, and be prepared for the answer that you might get, because you won't be prepared for that. Be prepared for the unexpected, and He's real. And research, ask God, read, do whatever you can to get to the messenger of God.
Thank you so much for us. That was such a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to be going now to a segment where we discuss some of the narrations that describe in detail the companions of this day and age of the family of Muhammad. So let's go ahead and check that out. Guys, the topic of today's episode so far, we've been talking about the companions of the Qaim. The prophecies that discuss what those companions will be like and what we can expect from them and what their duties are. And I think that in this discussion, let's really hone in on what is it that makes the companions in their duties and in their role on earth different? Why are they unique from other people, and why are the prophecies talking about them?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think that that's an important point, because people take a look at the companions and they're wondering what makes them who they are. Yeah, how did they end up here? And maybe we can discover that by just reading their description in the narrations. So one narration states, while referring to the companions of Imam Mahdi, Imam Al-Sadiq says, each of them have been gifted the strength of 40 men, and surely their hearts are firmer than iron, and they will not sheath their swords until the time their Lord is satisfied with them. So they're extremely strong, they're strong in their faith, and they're firm defenders of the Imam. And this other hadith is an interesting one. It says, the commander of the believers said on the platform of Kufa, his companions are those who have long hair. They are ones who have beards and mustaches. Their clothes are black. They are the companions of the black banners.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think that we've seen in the comment section people commenting, they all wear black, they all have long hair. hair. And there's other narrations that mention that the companions wear black hats. And these are all things that people have picked up on and they've noticed, and it's actually something that's written in the narrations.
Yeah, there's another narration as well that says, I am seeing them, companions of Imam Mahdi. They are similar in color, height, face, and clothes. They are united in their hearts and are anxiously trying to search for their lost property. They are troubled and disturbed because of it. At that moment, a person from the extreme wall of the Holy Kaaba will reappear. This person will be an exact replica of the Holy Prophet in his appearance, ethics, mannerisms, beauty, and radiance. These people shall ask him, Are you Mahdi? He shall reply, Yes, I am Mahdi. Then they shall all pledge allegiance to him. So yeah, for sure, he does say he's a Mahdi. He knows he's a Mahdi, and he clarifies it. Yeah. We also see that again, these similarities in color, height, face, and clothes. They all look the same.
He fits them. Yeah. It's happening in front of our eyes.
Yeah,
exactly. Isn't it?
That's what's amazing about this religion. That all the prophecies and the text, the holy text, they just have come to life before our eyes, and this is what we're presenting to the world right now. One of the other things is that the traits is that the believers, they all come from around the world. So there's a hadith from Imam Muhammad Taqi, peace be upon him, where he declared that Allah will gather his followers around him, meaning the riser. Their number will be 313, the same as the companions of Badr. They will gather from different parts of the earth. And this is the exegesis of Allah's words. Wherever you are, Allah will bring you all together. Surely Allah has power over all things. The companions, they come from all walks of life.
And all parts of the world.
All parts of the world.
Exactly. And that's what brought this verse in the Quran to life. I myself from England, you yourself from Pakistan, her from Sweden, you from America. You see that we have people from every part of the earth who come on one cause, one goal, and that is to believe in the supremacy of God and believe and support the Qaim of their time.
Incredible. And it's something that we don't see anywhere else like this. You know, all of us being together from one place, but united under one principle, under one banner, and under one man.
Exactly.
It's very, very unusual. But it's a prophecy. It's a prophecy in the narrations. It's a prophecy in the Bible. Exactly. It's written
and
in
also the
Holy
Prophet also said that when our Qaim will establish himself, Allah will gather the people of the east and the west. These people come together in one place in the same manner as the leaves gather in one place in autumn. It just explains.
And it's not just narrations from Islam.
No,
right?
No, it isn't.
We have verses from the Bible as well that talk about
Exactly. In Isaiah, it's written that he will raise a banner for the nations and gather the exiles of Israel. He will assemble the scattered people of Judah from the four quarters of the earth. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Bani Israel is scattered across the whole world and is bringing them all together.
Yes.
And talking about bringing them all together, there is a hadith that says, believers are like brothers from one father and mother. When one of them is struck, the others lose sleep.
Yes,
so
exactly.
this is, we know from Aba Al-Sadiq, from him his peace, is that he always wants us to put our brothers and sisters before ourselves. So we always make sure that they are okay, and if they are not okay, then you shouldn't be okay, right?
Exactly. It's so amazing. Like when you put all those things together, we've got a community of people that's coming from all over the world, all different walks of life, all different ages, all different religious backgrounds. They're all gathering together like leaves gather together, and they become like a family.
Exactly.
And they're all united in one cause. They all dress the same. They eat the same.
Yes.
They live the same. They become
body,
one. Exactly.
One body.
I think,
exactly.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's also very relevant to our conversation, the fact that there's a difference in this day and age. We always say that we're living in a very unique time. We've talked in our different works, and Aba Al-Sadiq has explained in The Goal of the Wise, and he's explained in his lecture series that actually prophets and messengers from previous times are returning, their souls are returning in this day and age, which is a huge topic. But it's crucial. Why? Because we're living in a time right now where we have to give victory to God.
Exactly.
And that's part of the deal. Part of being a companion means to fulfill certain duties that we are saying we are here to fulfill, and to not do the likes of what nations before us have done, where they have betrayed their prophet or messenger or let them down. So we also have that duty upon us to know what it is that we're here for, and we live by it. We dedicate ourselves to it. Nothing else is in our minds except our duty.
Exactly. And fulfilling that's what comes next, right? You want to be a companion? Okay, that's fine. You become a companion, then what? What do you have to do? Then you have to fulfill certain duties, and those duties are written in the scriptures. And it's actually discussed in The Goal of the Wise. Aba Al-Sadiq was talking about a hadith from Imam Sadiq. He said that Imam Sadiq said, verily, if the believer has any money, he can spend it as he wishes on his children. But then if the Qaim rises, the believer carries to the Qaim Qaim what he has of money and property, and whatever is left over from that money, he uses it for his livelihood. Then if he does that, the believer has fulfilled his obligations. So this means what? This means that it's basically haram for you to have personal wealth, like whatever you have accumulated. When the Qaim rises, you have to support him with that.
With everything.
And this is not just something that occurred in the religion of Islam. It's actually based in scripture. We saw that the early Christians lived that way. In the book of Acts, it speaks about them living that way. Exactly. The disciples of Jesus supported him from their means. But there's many narrations. Imam Sadiq also said, our Shia can spend whatever is in their hands as they please in goodness, but if our Qaim rises, then all treasures, wealth and fortune, become impermissible for those who have treasures, and they must bring it in order that the Qaim uses it against his enemies. And that is the meaning of the words of God. Those who hoard gold and silver and do not spend it in the way of God, give them glad tidings of a painful torment. So that's the meaning of that tradition. It's obligatory upon the believer to bring forward what they have. That's actually a duty and an obligation upon them.
And the reason is because the Qa'im is the one who is just. He's the one who knows how to distribute all the wealth. In the Goal of the Wise, we read, the Imam from him, his peace, said, it's true. It means that the Qa'im is the only one who shall be just between the people in terms of living and will treat everyone equally with no difference. So the Qa'im will not differentiate between people who came from a wealthy background or people who were poor in their lives, or a person who has this ethnicity or this ethnicity, or if this person is this or that. There's no such thing. Everyone are just humans, and he treats them according to that, and he's just between them.
And another thing that we have is, we as a community, we've all done this, that we are following one of the sunnah of Jesus, which is that we're the people of the Qaim are travelers. Like, we've traveled from Egypt to Sweden to Germany to many parts of the world. He himself has gone, and his companions too have gone with him. They do not stick to one place, and that is actually according to one of the traditions of Muhammad and the family of Muhammad. So the Abi Abdullah alayhi salam said that the following verse was real about the companions of the Qaim. Wherever you are, Allah will bring you all together. So they shall go to bed at night and in the morning find themselves in Mecca. Some of them will travel on clouds. The man will be knowing them by their names, fathers' names, appearances, and genealogies. I asked, may I be sacrificed on you? Who will be the best in faith among them? He replied, one who will ride the clouds during the day. Meaning those who travel.
Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, such an encoded message in this historical scripture that people wouldn't have been able to understand, but
it's a requirement.
Exactly.
It's a requirement to be a disciple or to be a companion of a messenger. That's required, and Jesus himself said it.
Yes, he did. There's that story which Aba Al-Sadiq mentioned in a recent episode of the School of Divine Mysteries when he was speaking about the sunnah of Jesus, which is present with Imam Mahdi, with the Mahdi, and talking about this exact concept of being a traveler. And he brought up the story of the rich man who came to Jesus and he asked, how do I be perfect? And Jesus gave him the solution. He said, sell everything you own, give it to the poor, and follow me. And this was something that man could not do. And he found that he actually didn't have what it takes to become a disciple, because he was not willing to fulfill that duty.
Which is tragic, right? Because you can't be a student if the teacher is far away from you and you're not with them.
It's so sad that all the past prophets have taught this and have preached this, yet people seem to have lost their way in knowing that this is how you are when it comes to believing in God.
Exactly.
And there is no excuse, actually.
Exactly.
Sorry.
No, what's more mind-boggling is that people who knew about the prophets and messengers before knowing that the Khan was here, they were always wishing that they were with the prophets and messengers. I would serve my imam, my prophet, my messenger, and then when he comes here,
allege it.
Then there's excuses.
And it's strange too, because the prophecies in the narrations tell us this. So if you read a lot of the narrations, they say what you should do when you're with the Qaim or when he rises. I want to read one of them actually right now. It says that we are members of a household for whom Allah has chosen the hereafter over this world. The people of my household will face calamity, expulsion, and exile after I am gone, until some people come from the east carrying black banners. I guess that's talking about this call. They will ask for something good, but they will not be given it. Then they will fight and will be victorious. Then they will be given what they wanted, but they will not accept it, and will give leadership to a man from my family. Then he will fill it, meaning the earth, with justice, just as it was filled with injustice. Whoever among you lives to see that, let him go to them, even if he has to crawl over snow. Crawling over snow or crawling over ice is something that we find in the narrations quite a bit, which is interesting too, because we've been in countries, the Qaim and his companions, we've traveled from country to country, places like Germany, Sweden, now the United Kingdom, where there is snow. And to reach Aba Al-Sadiq, people have had to crawl over ice, or in some narrations, as it says, fly through the domes of the clouds, which means obviously a reference to being in aeroplanes. So it's something that is required, and it's a duty. So when you talk about the companions of the messenger today, one of the duties is go to him, be with him, be around him, be a student.
No matter what.
No matter what,
no
support
excuses.
this man.
There's no excuses. It's so. Speaking of going to him, and when you do go to him and you do pledge allegiance to him and you do give your oath that you shall serve him with everything you have and you'll support him with all you have, it is something that for God is such a it's so sacred.
Of course.
It's such
It's
serious.
Yeah.
It's so serious, and it's a heavy matter. So people taking it lightly, when they have taken it lightly in the past, what has happened?
Let's think about that. Let's go into history and see what happens.
It has led to nothing but destruction for mankind. Them letting Jesus down, right? Led nothing to Christianity, just turning it to all this confusion.
So that's a good example. Like this is the Messiah. Everyone was expecting the Messiah comes. All of a sudden, we're going to have this kingdom. The Israelite kingdom is going to be restored. It's going to be like the kingdom heyday, like David and Solomon once again.
Exactly.
And that didn't happen.
No, it didn't.
And why didn't it happen?
Because you didn't support him.
The people did not support him.
You did not keep your oath towards him.
And now look, Christianity is just a big
ball of confusion.
A big ball of denominations, and you can just pick which one you want if it suits you. And Christianity is not alone in that. Islam is the same, and that again goes back to people betraying
Imam
the people
Hussein.
who brought Islam.
Yeah, exactly. Imam Hussein being let down in Karbala, like the family of Muhammad, peace be upon him, the very prophet that if it wasn't for this prophet, they wouldn't even know monotheism. They wouldn't even know that there is an Allah or anything. They wouldn't know anything.
So Imam Hussein, he was called by the people. The people were calling for him. The people of Kufa were sending him letters. They were saying, come, save us. And then when he went out, they turned their backs. So this is exactly what can happen when the people do not keep their oath. When they just say, I believe, please come save me, and they don't play an active role in actually making that happen and supporting him.
So that's the difference between the people who claim they believe in a messenger and those who truly believe in a messenger and practice and walk with the messenger, because it's what's walking with the messenger is what brings forth your Eden, it's what brings forth the divine just state, it's what brings forth the kingdom of God that you're all dying for and that you're all praying for. It can only happen if you get up and walk towards him.
And if you look at in history, what happened is that the people who were with Jesus, the people who were with Prophet Muhammad, how many were they? They were so few.
And
not many
success
people
was given to them.
Yeah, and not many decided to actually follow. And with Imam Hussein, it was only 72 or 73, and they had their success. And Jesus, it was only the disciples, and with Prophet Muhammad, he only has his people. And with the Qa'im, and that's why with the Qa'im, it's only gonna be a few, 313 and 10,000.
Yes,
I mean. Because the people have to decide that now I'm going to take the action, get out of my comfort zone, and do what I'm supposed to do, which is give victory to the Qa'im.
The time is now, and this is the time when the prophecies tell us, and these are the glad tidings, there will be victory. There will be a place on earth where there's peace and justice, and it's because those companions will give victory to him, because we've returned now to ensure that this happens. So I guess congratulations to everyone for that.
Yes, congratulations to us.
Absolutely. And it's a great honor that we get to be part of that number.
It really is.
So we're joined now in our studio with the Deputy Head of our Legal and Security Department, Caroline Hoeren.
Nice to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Caroline. We were just talking about, as you have heard from the previous segment, the various narrations and the prophecies that had to do with the companions of the Messenger of God today and the role that they play, the very significant role in supporting this man from God, in enabling God, in empowering God on earth. Because as we've mentioned in previous episodes, a deal or a contract with God is a two-way contract. God has been very clear about that in the scriptures by using the term covenant, and the fact that we have a covenant in this day and age with God as well. And that covenant is to enable God by establishing the kingdom of heaven by supporting the man from him. Now you, Caroline, you yourself have also been one of those staunch supporters of Aba Al-Sadiq, from him is peace, for a very long time. You joined him back in the days of Egypt when some of us had gathered around him and were eager to support him and to support Imam Mahdi in the goal of this day and age. So shed a bit of light on that, please, for our viewers.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I've been a member of the community now for over 12 years. And
13 now, I think it is.
Yes, and I joined Aba Al-Sadiq back in Egypt. Obviously, I'm German, so I did come quite the distance. I flew out to Egypt, and since then, whenever we moved from country to country, I've been there. This has taught me so much and shown me how important it also is to be with the Qa'im, to be by his side, because only like this you can truly get to know God and learn and support him really. Yeah,
that was a great decision that you made at a very young age, and it just goes to show that through the time you have been that supporter that's never left his side, that's been right there to be a help, and you're a critical part of our community and of all of our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously Caroline also does the German show on the same channel.
That's
she
right,
does it with Brother Hoeren and does a fantastic job. And we were just listening to Brother Faraz before you, and he was from a certain background and talking about his journey to Aba Al-Sadiq. And you have a very peculiar, interesting journey. Not only are you from Germany, but you also have a different background in terms of the religion and the culture that you came from. Faraz was obviously a Christian, but you have a very unique story. And could you just go into a little bit of detail about your story?
Yeah, so obviously I'm not really from a Christian background or a Muslim background. I was what you could describe as an atheist or agnostic, meaning the typical German doesn't really believe that religion makes any sense, which I also didn't believe in, and which I think is obvious, because if you look at religion today, there is so much corruption, there is so much contradiction, and what scholars teach today, be it Christianity, be it the Pope, be it Islam, be it Muslim scholars, it's just not convincing because it's not coherent.
Right.
So when I found the teachings of Ahmad al-Hassan, and also actually even back then the teachings of Aba Al-Sadiq about Hafd Sharif and reincarnation and all of this tying into Islam, I was like, wow, this is actually a very different type of religion, and it has the answers to everything. Like, it's extremely coherent and logical, and it's the only religion that has an answer to many of the questions that atheists have and that normal religious scholars can't answer. Like even questions as certain Bible stories, they just ignore them. You know, like certain things in the Bible, right. Christian scholars just pretend they don't exist. But this religion owns them and has an explanation for them. Like in The Goal of the Wise, a lot of these things are explained. It explains why laws change over time. Things like this, they just convinced me.
So the lack of coherency in the religions that they existed back in Germany, were you interested in looking in religions, or did you examine any particular religions? Or?
Yeah, I was. Actually, I was interested in them in the sense of just studying them from afar. I even took courses in Islamic studies in university, so I was interested in looking into them, and I was looking into Buddhism, you know, all types of different religions and comparing them, but it was never a thing of I want to join them or I think that they're the truth. This really only happened when I heard about the call of Ahmad al-Hassan.
And you know, hearing you speak, Caroline, it really kind of pushes that point that because of the way the religions are represented today by the scholars and because of the way that they have gone through this historical corruption at various stages, that people like yourselves who are rational people, logical people, you look at the religion and you think, well, this doesn't make any sense. This is clear hypocrisy and this is a clear contradiction. And that leads to unfortunately, for a lot of people becoming atheists and agnostics. But, you know, in The Goal of the Wise, the Imam alayhi salam actually says that if you don't find in this religion, which you talked about, where you saw coherency and order and logic and proofs and then references, and bringing all of it together in a sequence, in a logical sequence. But in this religion, you saw everything that you didn't see in the world religions, as the established world religions,
like
and that caused you to come. Right. So this is why The Goal of the Wise is such an important book to read, freely available online to download in multiple languages. Actually, Sister Caroline has another honor in that she has translated the entire book, which is 400 pages plus, into beautiful German.
Yes,
easily 600 pages.
Which is quite an accomplishment, because I'll tell you, I tried to learn the language and it is a very difficult language, but Caroline pulled it off in a stellar way.
Yes, we're very happy that the book is available in 11 languages, and we're very grateful that you have opened the door to those who speak German, and they can actually now read the teachings of the rise of the family of Muhammad in the Goal of the Wise in their own language. It's very critical that that be the case. Now, if we take a look now, as Irfan had said, that you come from this interesting background that is just kind of agnostic, not very clear on what they want to believe in, and it's good that you had these perspectives too, because when you did find God, you knew that this is it, this is the real deal, right? There are people in different countries who are suffering and being persecuted because they are trying to follow a religion. And ironically, they're being persecuted by mainstream institutions of religion. They're being persecuted by the mainstream governmental systems, and governmental systems that are adhering to mainstream institutions of religion, in particular in the Middle East, and taking a more extremist stance because they really require that people follow their creed, and they don't give the right to people to have their own freedom of religion. Now, you have been very actively working alongside members of our religion who have been suffering from that regard due to your role in this community and your skill set. Can you shed some light on the overall persecution that we have seen as a people, and in particular in Azerbaijan?
Yes, so as you said, I've been in contact with a lot of persecuted members of our religion because I work in the security and legal team, and I have also been in contact with their lawyers, and it's been a very... So first of all, it's extremely impressive how these people insist on spreading the dawah, even though they know that this might lead to danger for them in their countries. But they just have this passion about the truth, and they just really want to spread it. So they insist on still speaking up and not being silenced by the oppressors. We obviously have had recently events in Jordan and in Azerbaijan where members of our religion have gone out on the street. They have done nothing wrong. They've just peacefully been either distributing flyers or holding like a picture of Aba Al-Sadiq and trying to do missionary work where they obviously talk to people on the street.
I think we can even show on the screen some of the images of these individuals, these brave brothers and sisters who are exercising their right to peacefully show what they believe in and expressing their religion to the crowds. Yes, go on.
Yeah, so, and they have been literally in both Jordan and Azerbaijan, they've been arrested after 10 minutes of saying Imam Mahdi is here.
Wow.
So in Azerbaijan, for example, it was July 20th, we had 11 Azeris, very brave people who've been in the dawah also for a long time, who have gone out on the street, and they were doing missionary work, they had flyers, they were distributing flyers with the link to our website.
So nothing violent, nothing calling to anything wrong, any wrongdoing, any illegal activity, nothing of the sort?
No, of course not. Just really announcing that Imam Mahdi has appeared and that there is a different understanding of religion to the Azeri people in Baku. And it took 10 minutes, and I did bring the video. I don't know if we can see it on screen, but they were surrounded by police officers. It was like 11 plus police officers, you know, they felt so intimidated.
I think that's the video playing now.
So it is basically, they were so intimidated just by people proclaiming the truth of Aba Al-Sadiq, by people calling to the religion of the Ahmadi religion of peace and light, that they sent an army of police officers surrounding them. And not only that, but they were escorted, they were arrested, they were taken to the police station. We didn't hear from them for a long time. And ever since then, they launched an investigation into these 11 people. So their parents have been called, they have been called by phone regularly. It's an intimidation technique. And they've been put under investigation by something that's called the State Committee of Azerbaijan for Religious Affairs.
Okay.
So this is now an institution that is kind of by the Azeri state monitoring religion. They have to, for example, approve Friday prayers. You know, it's really like the state having a monopole on what can be a religious teaching and what not. And obviously nothing that's somewhat revolutionary, somewhat government critical is going to make the cut.
Right.
So they're under investigation, under a lot of pressure. And then we have 2 of them who were brave enough to go out again after a few days, distribute flyers nonetheless and say, look, I'm not going to let you intimidate me. I'm going to spread my religion. And they were stopped again, but this time, obviously, because they were brave enough to do it a second time, the Azeri police was much more brutal with these two. They were stopped. All this was caught live on camera for doing literally nothing but distributing flyers. They were taken to the side. They were beaten up brutally. They are on the spot before even going to the police station. Then they were taken to the police station, and the abuse was horrific. I mean, they've been in prison for over a month, and when they came out, they testified, obviously, to what happened to them. We've seen a picture of one of them, his tooth fell out, like, because he was kicked in the face.
Kicked in the face, wow.
He was kicked in the face, he was kicked in the stomach. He said they stood on his throat. They were doing some type of sexual abuse with the two of them, where they were touching them in inappropriate places and making one touch the other in inappropriate places. They were obviously insulting them. And he said that he was also kicked in the testicles until, like, when he made the testimony, he was saying, I'm still in pain. So there could be, like, long-term effects of that abuse. They were in prison for a month, and the charges that they faced were, interestingly, hooliganism. Okay, so it's a trumped-up charge, even though it was caught live on camera, that he's literally, like, just distributing flyers in a public square in Baku. And he was taken to trial, to actually a court. He said that he spoke up. He had a lawyer. The lawyer that we had is actually a prominent human rights lawyer in Azerbaijan. She even made an interview stating that, obviously, they were abused. They didn't do anything. One of them had a 14-year-old child at home, and he was still thrown in prison.
That's really disgusting.
He had a ill mother that he was taken care of as well, so the income really relied on him, but he was just taken, and we had to actually gather donation for his family throughout the month, because there was no one to provide any income for the mother who had just given birth and his mother that he was taken care of. So it was really a horrible situation. He went to trial, and he actually testified even in front of the judge, very brave human beings who would, after all this abuse, speak out. And he did say to his lawyer and to the judge, I have been abused in prison and I haven't done anything. Even though he was told, take back all your statements, he did not. And he said the judge completely ignored it. I've actually seen the verdict. The verdict just says, actually, yeah, the defendant states that he was abused, but the police officer said that he was being, he was engaging in hooliganism. Completely ignoring that there's a video of the event where is no hooliganism taking place. And he was just sentenced to a prison sentence. And the appeal was rejected as well. And we are now going to take the case to the European Court of Human Rights, because Azerbaijan actually accepts the jurisdiction of the European Court of Human Rights. And this is, I mean, the lawyer said it's such a clear-cut case where there's video evidence that no hooliganism took place.
It's just the audacity of the system. The fact that they can... It's a testament, isn't it, to how broken the system is and how corrupt it is on every level. Like, you can't say that it was just a police officer. It actually went all the way up to the prison system. It went up to the judge and the court. And it's terrible that this is taking place in this day and age, openly, for the public to see. And no one can say it's wrong, because for the people, this is their way of protecting their religion. Is this their perspective? Why is it that the government is so harsh towards an individual saying, I believe that Imam Mahdi is here? What is the fear and the horror about?
I think really the fear is, the same fear that the Roman Empire had when Jesus started to gather like 12 people around him, and they really felt the need to execute him for it, because he was calling to something different, something new. He was waking people up, making them think. And I think this is what it is. I really believe that the government is extremely scared of just 11 people being in one spot and doing something that's out of the ordinary. Like, this is something that scares them to death. They need to stop it.
They have complete control in their world, and they want to keep that.
Oh, they want to keep it. And they don't want anyone to go out of line. I noticed actually that when I talk to people from Azerbaijan, for them it's extremely normal not to speak out. For them it's extremely normal not to go on the street and protest for something.
Not to have a voice,
they know. It's like an underlying understanding that, hey, don't do that stuff, like just keep your head down, you know, do what everyone else does, because otherwise it's going to happen what happened to Rustam and Neriman, the two who went to prison. Everybody knows that.
And God bless their bravery and the fact that what a great testament to faith, that knowing that this is the kind of persecution they can face, they still stood strong and didn't back off from their beliefs. How easy could it have been for them to have said at any point, I relinquish my faith, I have no desire to continue on this path, I do not believe in Aba Al-Sadiq, but instead they stood strong, they stood firm, and they never let go of their religion. How incredible is that?
It is really incredible, and the courage of these people to be in these eastern countries like Malaysia, like Turkey,
Iran,
like Algeria, Iran,
Iraq.
And now the stories that you've shared, these grotesque stories of abuse in Azerbaijan, it is just absolutely revolting.
And what a shame, a great shame on the Azerbaijani government and their people and their officials, and they really should know that the spotlight is on them now, and we will not tolerate the fact that our people are treated that way. We will stand for their human right to practice what they believe in and exercise their faith.
Yeah, I mean, it's really absolutely ridiculous. I'm so shocked, and as you said, it's also extremely brave of the two when they came out to make a testimony and to testify to everything that happened to them, send pictures of the truth that was taken out. It takes a lot of courage for people in these type of countries to speak up. They were really... they try to intimidate them very much not to talk anymore, but they are still talking, and that's like a quality of the companions of the Qa'im, you know, that they don't back down.
They don't back down, and it's also a proof why the Qa'im has to rise from the West, because at least there is that ability to hand out flyers without being beaten up and thrown in jail, having your tooth knocked out, having you know, get kicked in the testicles. And you mentioned, Caroline, that this happened when Jesus came, when the Roman Empire was running the Palestine at the time. And it's the same with the Prophet Muhammad. It's the same kind of story that when he came, we of course know the torture to which Bilal was kind of subjected, you know, with this heavy stone that was put on his chest. And Ammar ibn Yasir was, interestingly also with the parallel, was kicked in the testicles until he got a hernia. We've heard these stories, and this always happens because if a system that you know, receives these sermons from GHQ, from the government for their Friday sermons, if the information is coming down and then somebody's saying we want equality of rights, we want a fair distribution of wealth to them, this is a real threat, isn't it?
It's a threat.
Yeah, it's a total threat. I mean,
to their Orwellian society, really. It's like a complete dictatorship in that sense.
You can't even have religious gatherings without an approval of that committee. Like, this committee has like the total oversight over anything religious that's going on. So you can imagine what the Friday speech is about. It's clearly handed down from the Azeri government and pushing a certain agenda. Which reminds us of the hadith that when the scholars are, you know, in bed with the rulers, I mean, that's a sign of the end time, and that's when, you know, religion is destroyed.
And it is this deadly duo, isn't it, Caroline, that causes this this persecution and oppression of the believers in every age. And we have examples of these people. You mentioned a few people who had medical issues, people who couldn't care for their relatives. And of course, we've had these cases, these horrific cases in the detention camp in Edirne in Turkey, where some of the most horrific treatment was meted out to people. A child developed late-stage jaundice, and they wouldn't help him. He was losing weight and all these other issues. We had somebody who had chest pain and collapsed. He was taken to the hospital. They put some intravenous fluids in, IV fluids, to try and give him some, at least hydration, because he was so dehydrated. And then the guards lost patience, and they squeezed the IV fluid so that it would go faster into his veins, which could have caused a catastrophe.
The inhumanity of it all.
There's so many cases.
He was like almost 70, the man that happened to.
You know, we really have to give a lot of thanks, I believe, to the riser of the family of Muhammad Aba Al-Sadiq. He is doing something that no one has the bravery to do at this point in the world. He's actually shedding light. He's shining that torch in these terribly dark places and forcing that people take a look at how inhumane the situation has become. And finally wake up to the fact that it is time to stand up. It's time to rise up, essentially, and to make a change. Our stance on changing this world is to uphold the creed of humanity first. That is what we stand by. We are a religion of peace and light, and that means to speak out, to go there to propagate to stand there for one another despite the differences, despite the borders that have been placed between us as human beings. Enough is enough, and we are standing now by the riser of the family of Muhammad, who has been sent by God. And thank you so much, Caroline, to you and to your amazing team for being so right next to these people who are suffering so much, our brothers and sisters in different parts of the world, for being aware of their situation, for being next to them, for speaking to them, and for finding the help that they need. It's very, very necessary, and we thank you for that.
Thank you so much for hosting me today.
And also, we wanted to ask you about something else that you are very instrumental in, and that is that you are the editor of our official magazine, the Divine Just State magazine, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
So how about you shed some light on that for the viewers who might not know about it?
Yes, so we have a magazine now. It launched since May. As you said, the Divine Just State magazine. It is obviously a platform where we can publish news. So we have been publishing about what happened to the people in Azerbaijan, Jordan. Whenever we have like pending cases, of course, the magazine is a platform for it. We have actually also a new section in the magazine now, which is that we publish community news. So, for example, from Ansar around the world, when they do missionary work, when they do meetups, so people can also be up to date to this and maybe join if they want to, or send in their pictures if they want them to be published. We have birth and obituaries, so also if a child is born and you are part of this call, you can publish the news there. And of course, we have every month an issue with like 5 to 7 selected articles about certain topics written by the companions of the Qa'im, and each of them chooses basically a topic that they are an expert about, that they've researched, or maybe they do interviews. And yeah, we've been getting a lot of comments, good feedback, that people are really enjoying the articles. So
it's a really wonderful magazine. We really love reading it.
And you can't miss the website. It's the divinejuststate.com.
Yes.
So exactly what it says on the tin.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Brilliant. And thank you so much, Caroline, for your indefatigable work. You work tirelessly. We spoke with Sister Hadil before in our very first episode.
Yes.
And the work you do to bring light and attention on these atrocities that are being carried out is just so invaluable. And thank you so much for everything that you do. Keep going. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, part of the help and support that we like to ensure is given out to the people is to propagate the teachings, the practical teachings of the riser of the family of Muhammad. And that doesn't just include a spiritual cleansing or healing or growth. That also includes physical help, and that also includes medical advice. Because as an individual sent by God, he has that divine knowledge to solve our problems, and that includes our health issues as well. And I will give the stage to you now, Dr. Irfan. We're coming to our Medicine of the Mahdi segment, and I'm very excited now to hear from you. What is it that you are going to teach us about today?
Thank you very much, Ailia. Well, it is my honor to present to you the knowledge of the Ahlul Bayt when it comes to certain medical problems that are confronting the world today. And I hope we have enough time. If not, we can always carry on till tomorrow, because the topic today is a big one. Everyone in our families, or somebody in our families, may have been affected by it. It is the topic of cancer. And Imam Ahmad al-Hassan, from him is peace, the first of the 12 Mahdis, has spoken about cures to cancer and causes of cancer. And there have been people, Ansar, whose relatives have had various forms of cancer, and they have sought the advice of the Imam, and he gave some amazing knowledge about the causes of cancer and about very interesting cures. So,
what a very critical topic. I mean, like you said, cancer is something that, I mean, the word itself just rings alarm bells in people's minds. It's something that we fear almost as a people, because cancer is something that people don't know how to prevent very well, and they don't know how to cure it very well. The cure itself is so harmful. But the fact that it's actually been spoken about by Aba Al-Sadiq, by Imam Ahmad al-Hassan, that is very thrilling, very exciting. And let's see what it is that they've said about it.
Exactly, Ailia. And you said that it evokes fear and anxiety in people, and that's for a very good reason, because unfortunately, even with the advancement of medical science, the 5 big killers in cancer, which are breast, prostate, colorectal or gut cancer, pancreatic cancer, and lung cancer. These, when they spread throughout the body, when they disseminate, when they what we call metastasize, the treatments, unfortunately, haven't really advanced over the last 50 years in terms of increasing life expectancy. So, the traditional treatments you may have heard of are chemotherapy, where we inject this chemical into your veins, which basically stops your cells, the cancer cells, from dividing. And the idea is to be very, very selective for these cells. We have radiotherapy, where we blast you with this radiation. Right. And again, there are means to focus that ionizing radiation, because it can also have the reverse effect. And again, that is designed to stop the cancer cells in that tract. And of course, there is surgery. For example, if there is a lump in your breast and it is of a certain type, we can actually cut it out and in conjunction with other treatments, treat it. So, what is cancer? Cancer is an abnormal proliferation of dysfunctional cells. Cells that have had their DNA, or what we call oncogenes within the DNA, affected and damaged to a point where the cells replicate out of control. So these are dysfunctional cells. They don't really have any purpose. And when these cells divide out of control, they cause all the harms that you see as a result of cancer. People die from cancer because these cells take all the resources of the body. They actually use the body's own cellular machinery to replicate. They are like obligate parasites. They need a host in which to survive. And when they take over the cell, they basically divide out of control, and they cause all the problems that we see through the resource consumption of the body. The body's energy supply is taken and depleted, and people with cancer will therefore die with things like pneumonia. They will die of things of that nature. So we are not really treating cancer, curing cancer as well as we thought we would, and therefore people are turning to alternative health and different research that is being done to find a less toxic and harmful way. Because if chemotherapy is causing somebody to become so sick, it's actually worse than the cancer itself.
So the chemotherapy itself, and this is something that maybe you can explain to us better, it's actually much more damaging, they say, in making the patient feel a lot worse. It's not really a cure or a healing process for the cancer. Why is that?
Yes, exactly. So now, chemotherapy basically stops cell proliferation, so the cells stop dividing. So what happens is the patient who has been given this chemotherapeutic drug, they lose their appetite. They lose their hair because their hair cells stop dividing. Right. They get intense nausea. They get depression. They have lots of problems that happen. And I saw it with my own grandmother, who was being treated for breast cancer. So as well as many, many patients who I've counseled pre and post-cancer treatment, and a lot of them said to me, you know, if I knew the chemotherapy would do this to me, I would have chosen to spend my last few months, weeks, at least in peace, you know, on pain relief medicines, strong opiates like morphine and things like this. So when you hear that from people, it makes you reflect, and it makes you think, well, is there a better way? Before I go into what the Imam spoke about in terms of the causes and then treatments for cancer, which are fascinating, you know, cancer is a new disease. Actually, Imam Ahmad al-Hassan from his piece said that cancer is a new disease that is caused by toxins in our food and in our environment. You know, how many times do we use pesticides, herbicides, insecticides in order to increase crop yield? Greed-driven farming practices that are causing us to you know, exploit the land for all it's worth, and then giving us these foods which then contain these toxins. Of course, we've all seen nuclear waste spillages. We've seen these factories producing huge volumes, plumes of smoke, which then go into the environment and cause other problems. And actually, if you go 100 years ago, the incidence for cancer was much, much less. And people will say, well, we didn't have the tools to diagnose cancer back in those days. We didn't have the sophisticated technology that we do now. But the fact of the matter is that even in the last 25 years, the incidence of cancer is increasing. And it's increasing at an alarming rate. So there is definitely something going on in the modern times, certain practices that are causing cancer rates to increase. So what did the Imam Ahmad al-Hassan, from his peace, say is one of the major contributing factors to the development of cancer? The Imam, from his peace, said that the consumption of animal-derived proteins is one of the causes of cancer, one of the major causes of cancer. And we spoke about how, I mentioned how these different toxins through pesticides and insecticides are introduced into our diet. We have cows being milked relentlessly, with growth hormone. They've been injected with antibiotics. So these toxins are coming into our system through what we're eating, and specifically animal proteins. The Imam said the cancer cells actually feed off these animal proteins. So if anyone is diagnosed with cancer, he says step one, cut out all animal-derived proteins. Animal-derived proteins include milk, cheese, yogurt, so dairy, and then you have the meats.
And eggs, perhaps?
Eggs as well, of course. Anything that comes from an animal source has a special type of protein that cancer cells love to use to build themselves and replicate. So that is number one. And to validate the words of the Imams, one of the most comprehensive and biggest studies ever done, which is famous in these scientific circles, which is the China study, on which there have been documentaries made. There was a very famous documentary called Forks Over Knives, which mentions it, and there are many articles and documentaries on this, and I urge everybody to look into it. It's a Google search away, and there's some very informative videos on it. And essentially the conclusion of it was that they looked at all of the different counties or areas of China, these rural areas, and they looked at how much meat consumption was going on, particularly red meat. So pork, cow, beef, and we have, of course, lamb. Exactly. And these meats were directly proportional to the incidence of cancer. So in the areas of China where they found higher consumption, there was much, much higher rates, statistically significant rates of cancer in these areas. And yes, and there are many other studies now done that prove that consuming red meats is actually one of the biggest causes of cancer. Actually, the International Agency for Cancer Research, the IARC, okay, they have actually have this grading system, where in group one of the grading system, they actually have, along with tobacco, which has a confirmed causal relationship with lung cancer, they have put in the same bracket in group one, processed meats. Processed meats, which are what? Salami, hot dogs, canned meat, chicken nuggets, sausages, ham. These types of processed meats are as cancer-causing, according to the International Agency for Cancer Research, as tobacco smoke.
That's very significant.
UVB radiation, ultraviolet radiation.
You wouldn't think, right? You'd think that must be much worse, but actually these meats that are processed and probably have all the goodness taken out of them in the process, with extra toxins added to them.
Right. In order to see, this is the thing, Ailia, and the whole idea is to do these things, to process the meat in order to increase shelf life and again increase profits and make this food easily, cheaply available.
Right.
And of course, healthy food, organic food, spoils quickly, right?
And it's more expensive.
And it's more expensive. So they've made these cancer-causing foods, unfortunately, very cheap. And actually, there is so much compelling evidence that, here in our community, we had this discussion where we spoke about the need to completely cut out processed meats. There's really, just as you would smoking. So if you want to cut out cancer from your community, cut out smoking and cut out these processed meats that are unfortunately as dangerous as tobacco. Now, one row down from it in class 2A is red meat. Again, what the Imam said is that animal-derived proteins, particularly meats, are very, very strongly causally related to the development of cancer. And actually, at this stage, I also wanted to mention, because I did say that there are this processing of food that increases shelf life and profitability for these supermarkets and these multi-billion-dollar corporations. Ultra-processed foods, which can be from carbohydrates and from other sources and the bad kinds of fats. So things like donuts, biscuits, candy, these types of things, colas, these types of
sodas and all
carbonated beverages that you can buy, they are also extremely inflammatory in the body, and they damage the DNA of the cells. And just as the cancer cells use the proteins as building blocks to replicate themselves, the inflammation and damage caused by these ultra-processed foods also causes that. This is more involved with that mutagenic process of turning from a normal to a cancer-causing cell. And there was actually a seminal study published on this in as recently as January of 2023. And if we could bring that up on the screen, in this study, they had a huge number of participants, and they found that the consumption of these ultra-processed foods is definitely increasing the incidence of all cancers, but particularly ovarian cancer, breast cancer, and brain cancer, brain tumors. So the evidence is there for one and all to see. One other thing the Imam mentioned, which is also very, very fascinating, and this is something that I, because you hear about the meats, I heard about the China study and things like this, but what I didn't hear about, and what the Imam specifically mentioned as a major contributor to developing cancer, is the exposure to artificial light at night. So if you are working excessive amounts of night shifts and you're getting exposure not to the sun, but to these lights that are kind of lighting your workspace, this is also one of the major causes of cancer. And when I heard this, and I looked into it, when you dig deeper, and again, only recently,
there is evidence for that.
There is reputable studies that show that shift workers have higher incidence of certain kinds of hormonally mediated cancers, like breast cancer, which is an estrogen-dependent type of cancer. It can be in certain subtypes of breast cancer, and prostate cancer. So these people who work on these shifts can actually develop this cancer, hormonally mediated cancers, just by the exposure of artificial light. And how many times do we sit there with our mobile phones, our laptops on our legs, the lights are on, it's 2 a.m. Actually, this is one of the unhealthiest practices, and certainly one of the treatments the Imam recommended for people in our community that had developed cancer, to really switch off all the artificial lights, even the wall plugs that have these illuminated lights on them, everything off. And this is one of the best ways to heal your body, along with the abstaining from eating animal-derived proteins. So we've spoken about ultra-processed foods, meats, red meats in particular, and we spoke about artificial light at night as one of the major causes of cancer. And of course, we know pollution, smoking, etc. are other very, very important things. You can see that the treatment of the Imam is not really giving medicines or necessarily consuming certain types of things. It's actually abstaining from certain practices that are damaging your body. Right? Now, we can't necessarily escape from this bombardment of pollution that exists in our environment, but what we can do is we can help ourselves by maintaining the stance that if anybody wants to reduce their cancer risk, cut your meat consumption, cut the red meat consumption, cut this working at night with a light. You can use a candle. Candle is a good alternative, a traditional way to light if you like to read at night. Using red light is better than using the blue light, and you can take certain steps to minimize your risk. So I think that's a lot. There's not too much to take in. 2 simple practices that you can implement and make your family members who have been given a diagnosis with cancer implement, and put the words of the Imam to the test. We have in our community, and we've seen some amazing results in people who have made full recoveries from cancer diagnoses. So I think the alternative, if you wish to go in that direction, out of the traditional conventional medical methods for treatment, probably surgery is the least toxic, but even that comes with a whole list of side effects: bleeding, infection, developing these infections that you can get in hospitals. So if there is a less harmful way to treat cancer, we really have to look into it. And when we take the Hippocratic Oath in the West as part of our medical training, the first thing that kind of jumps out famously is do no harm.
Do no harm, yes.
And
exactly.
the Imam's treatments and medicines, which we will talk about in the future as well, most of them are completely free of side effects and adverse effects on the body. So, yeah, I think that's it. If there's anything that you want to...
I think it would be really interesting if you could shed some light on something that you mentioned, which is that we've actually practiced these preventative techniques in our own community. Like you said, there is no escaping the harmful toxins and the pollution and the foods that we're surrounded by.
Yes.
So we too have come across these diseases. We've had these illnesses in our community, but because we're also with the Spirit of God on earth today, we've been able to successfully treat people with cancer. Can you please give us a great example of that for the viewers out there? I'm sure are very curious to know how did we do it.
How we did it. So we had a diagnosis in the Sweden phase of one of the parents of the Ansar who developed a very aggressive form of ureteric cancer, which is a cancer that exists in the tube that leaves the kidney and feeds the bladder. So this is the tube that drains the urine into the bladder from the kidney. This is a very, very aggressive form of cancer, and most of the times it is picked up late. It doesn't present as a lump in the breast or coughing up blood or passing blood in your stool. It's one of those hidden cancers, and it's extremely aggressive and very metastatic, spreads quickly and kills quickly. And it's I can't remember precisely what its 5-year survival rate is, but it's less than 20% if you have the high-grade type of tumor, which is what this person had. And again, the family, the children of this gentleman, he was immediately taken away from all animal proteins and artificial light at night. And he underwent an operation, and to this day he survives and he thrives. So we've seen it
completely cancer-free.
Exactly, completely cancer-free. We've seen it today. We've had other people with prostate cancer who were given the same advice. Actually, Ailia, to be honest, the cellular damage that kickstarts the process of mutation into a cancer cell is caused by these chemicals and foodstuffs that produce what we call oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is what damages cell DNA and causes cancer transformation. So one of the best things that you can do, in addition to these steps to avoid artificial light at night and animal-derived proteins, is to consume a lot of antioxidants. Yes. And antioxidants are rich in things, green vegetables. Chlorella is a really, really good one. It's a little bit expensive if you get the proper type of chlorella, which is an algae-derived thing that you can get in pill form even, not the most pleasant tasting. There is also activated charcoal, which is a very powerful antioxidant. And again, we've used this for many conditions in our community. It is much cheaper, very effective at removing, at mopping up the toxins in your system and taking them out through your gut. There is all turmeric. Turmeric, which I will go about in another episode. I'm a huge fan of turmeric.
Anti-inflammatory.
It is a very, very powerful anti-inflammatory. It also has anti-cancer properties. Cinnamon, I could go on and on and on. But
I'm sure, to be honest, the viewers want that. They do want to know, and we have so many people around the world who get in touch with us and ask us about how do I heal this or how do I cure that. I do want to encourage everyone out there to look at the phone number on our screen. You are invited to call in whenever you would need. Dr. Irfan is right here. We're happy to hear from you. We're happy to hear about any issues you might be having or any advice you might need in terms of health issues or whatever it might be in terms of that.
Absolutely. And yeah, it would be a pleasure and an honor to hear from you. My responsibilities aren't just kind of restricted to the community here. We have people from all over the world with medical problems that call in, that give us their complaints, and we do our very best to help in whatever way we can. So yes, as Ailia said, the number is on your screen. Please feel free to call, and I'd be happy to help in any way that I can.
Today has been a very interesting sort of, you would say, sequence of topics that we've touched upon, all of which have to do with the central theme, which has been being a disciple, being a companion of the messenger of God on earth in this day and age. We've gone over the various characteristics that a companion should have, while also seeing that these companions in different countries are being persecuted and being treated wrongfully by the authoritarian powers that be at the moment. We've gone over the duties of the companions of the messenger and the goals of the companions of the messenger, which have to do with empowering God in this day and age on earth. We've seen that there are people out there who are brave, who are courageous, who are suffering, who deserve our love, our compassion, and also our commitment to not back off from our goal of establishing a place where people can freely practice what they believe in. Those out there who believe in the fact that allegiance is to God, anyone out there who's listening to our voices, who believes in the fact that there is a God and that we should only see God as that complete and utter authority that exists in our realm, those are the ones we are talking to right now. We're talking to people out there who believe that if God exists, and surely He does, He's the only one worthy of our worship, the only one worthy of our obedience and our submission, and that He's the one who guides and He's the one who calls out to the people. So whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Muslim or a Jew or a Hindu, even if you don't believe in a God at all, as some of the people in this day and age who support the Qaim once did not believe in a God, you will hear Him call out to you if you are sincere, if you are humane, and if you are true. And this is the honor that we have. We sit here in front of you today telling you that the riser of the family of Muhammad has indeed appeared, and that there is a book called The Goal of the Wise that you can download from our website, which is on the screen right now. Please download it and check it out to understand more about what this religion is about.
Exactly. The Goal of the Wise, what a book. Download it. Every chapter is imbued with wisdom and knowledge from the Qaim of the family of Muhammad, the individual that is prophesied to bring the 25 letters of knowledge to add to the 2 that have existed since the time of Adam, to make 27 letters of knowledge. He is here among us. He has written this gospel for our times, for our benefit, for the freedom and salvation of humanity. It is food for the soul. Please read it and call in and discuss its amazing topics. Yes, we are waiting for your phone calls. We want to engage with people on the show, and we're always excited and happy to serve anyone who is interested in the message of the Qaim of the family of Muhammad.
And it's such a privilege to actually be broadcasting on this channel. We're broadcasting to Africa, the whole of Europe right now, and we have another satellite channel as well that broadcasts to the Middle East and to North Africa. Caroline, you yourself have a show on this channel, like Irfan mentioned before. What are the themes that you guys would cover? I'm sure that you're going deep into the teachings of Aba Al-Sadiq. You probably have people responding to you from your neck of the woods as well, from Germany and places around the world where people speak German. What's that like?
Yeah, you'd be surprised. We actually have viewers in Germany too who are engaging, who are asking questions, who want to know more about this call. We actually recently had someone who we were going over one of the episodes of Aba Al-Sadiq about the covenants, which is really actually a very specific religious topic. And they were asking for the references, which means that they're really looking into it deeply. Like they want to know, okay, you're telling me these stories, what's the reference? I'm going to go in, I'm going to read this, and I'm going to research and scrutinize, just like the Imam wants people too. And I'm very excited, and I think because we just started, right? It's just the second week now. I'm excited to see how many of these people are actually going to come around and join after they did their deep research. So we are going through the episodes of Aba Al-Sadiq. He has this YouTube series, obviously.
School of Divine Mysteries. Yes, the Mahdi has appeared YouTube channel for anyone who's interested. The Mahdi has appeared YouTube channel, and the playlist is called The School of Divine Mysteries.
Yes, so we are going through the episodes one by one, starting with the first, because Aba Al-Sadiq obviously already has built the dawah in the way that it's supposed to be built, and we are basically just discussing it in a way that's understandable to Germans in German, and also obviously through our lens translating it to the German mindset, but the topics are the same.
Amazing.
Thank you so much, Caroline. It was a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure being with you all today on Rise Up. Tune in again tomorrow for another episode, and until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.